A couple of pop stars, folks. Do they call them pop stars? I think they do, although I'm not so sure they'd like to be branded pop stars. I've seen a couple of interviews earlier today. You'll have seen it on the thumbnail. Your man from the Lightning Seeds, is it Ian Brody? I think it is. And Paul Heaton. We'll start with Paul, because you know I like Paul. I've mentioned it before. I like him a lot. Two good vocalists, but in the case of Paul Heaton, an absolutely Bobby-dazzling vocalist and songwriter. I think he's brilliant myself, really do. I've said in the past, I think he cares for his fans, he cares for the people, he's a man of the people. And he proved it again today with this morning's interview. They're talking to him on the TV about the length of his career and the various LPs he's brought out, and his latest LP, obviously that's what he's plugging, although he don't do much plugging, Paul, I must admit. He just chats, he's dead grounded. And they're talking about this, his concerts coming up, his upcoming concert tour, and dynamic pricing. I thought, oh, that's raised its ugly head again. I thought, I bet Paul Heaton doesn't go for that. And I thought, I bet they're trying to get him to call you your Oasises of the world and others. And I thought, he doesn't seem that kind of fella to me, although I do hope he does call him. He didn't call him at all. What do you think of this dynamic pricing, Paul? Are you for it tonight? He said, no, it's not for me. Not for me. Won't be happening on my concert tour. Oh, right, why is that? He said, well, because I get involved in everything. He said, when they have the discussion at the outset, you get the people from your Ticketmaster, you get your management, you get your promoters. He said, and if the artist wants anything to do with it, the artist sits in as well. He said, well, I always want something to do with it. He said, and I sit in there, and when they mention these kind of newfangled things, I say, no, that's not for me. No. We give them a price, we set a price, that's the price. He said, and we also try to not inflate it. He said, you'll get a stage now and again, he said, where I'll say this is the figure that I think is fair. He said, and the promoter will say, well, I think we should go for a little bit more. He said, and I'll stand my corner and say, no, I'm happy with that. He said, I always try to think, what can folks afford? And some of them might be my friends or people that have known me for many a year coming along, he said, and I think, what can they afford? It's the same with the merchandise, with your old T-shirts and whatever else. He said, I'm not for having these T-shirts, that's 17, 80 quid. It's not on. People can't afford it. It's hard out there now. He said, so I make sure I sit in on every meeting to do with costings. And I think, well, if that's fair, we'll go with that. If it's not, we won't. He said, and I always look at what the man in the street can afford. And I thought, Paul, you're a superstar, absolute superstar. Not only are you brilliant at what you do, but you really genuinely do care about the fans. Really, really good to hear. And then we went to, I think, the other station, to old Ian Brody of the Lightning Seeds. And it's just a quick story, folks. Well, it's two, really. I never knew this. Did you know that their name, you probably did if you're a fan, came from a Prince song? I never knew it. I never knew it at all. Ian had heard a Prince song and he misheard a lyric. And he thought, oh, Prince said the Lightning Seeds. It was actually in Raspberry Beret. I like that song. I think it's a crackerjack of a song. Then again, I tend to like all Prince songs because for me he was the governor, the real governor. Stood astride of everybody for me in music over the last 40, 50 years. But that's only my opinion. Yeah, he says it came from a Prince song. And then he's also said, he said, she mentioned, Lorraine. I've got to admit I watched it on Lorraine. I don't like watching or listening to her. I really don't. But that was the station she was on, unfortunately, for me. And she said, you've got a Steve Wright story, haven't you? He said, oh, Steve Wright, belting DJ, lovely fella. She said, in what way? He said, well, there was one night my career's just starting off, and I've got my new song out, my new record out. And somebody told me, Steve Wright's going to play you tomorrow on his show. He said, get away. Because he was the biggest DJ of his time. He said he won't. Well, he said he's going to play you tomorrow. He said, I thought, well, I better listen. He said, but I'm worried to death. I'm thinking, is my voice strong enough? Is my voice good enough? What's he going to think? Will he really play it? Anyway, good to the word. He said, it's on the radio there, on radio. He said, and I can hear myself singing. I'm thinking, good grief, I'm on the biggest show in Britain. All of a sudden, halfway through the record, he turns it off. Steve Wright says, right. And he has it in his hand. Who's this then? I've never heard of him before. Who are they? Oh, and I thought, he's found me out. He doesn't like me. He said, do you know what? I like it. I'm going to play it again. Put it back on the turntable and played it. He said, bugger me. He said, that wasn't the end of it. He said, hey, I really like that. I'm going to play it again. And he played it for the third time. Well, 2.5 times, really, because after the first time, he took it off halfway through. He said, I couldn't believe it. He said, that got me my real start in music. The fact that Steve Wright played it 2.5 times and everybody knew about it, everybody was saying, well, who is this band? Who are they? Who's this Ian Brody? He said, So I've always been eternally grateful to Steve Wright. Well, I've always been eternally grateful to him as well for just being Steve Wright on the radio, because I loved him, I really did, and I miss him on a daily basis. Not that I used to listen to him every day, but I knew when I got in my car between 2 and 5, I could put Radio 2 on, and wherever I was travelling home from, however bad a day I'd have Steve Wright to keep me company, and he'd make me smile. And I miss that. I really, really miss that. They've got a joker that took his place. I've never listened to him for more than 5 minutes once, and I'll never listen to him again because he's crap. But Steve Wright, I loved him. That's me. I'm in a time warp, folks. I really am. I tend to like what I like, and if I don't like it, I just don't like it, and I don't like the new fella. I love Steve Wright. Anyway, that's life. So, a couple of stories there from the old Lightning Seeds. The Prince one really amazed me. I didn't know that. Well, they both amazed me. And a bit from Paul Eaton. I do like him. He's good, he is. He is good. Singer and songwriter par excellence. Very, very good.